Hello, my dear friends. Take a slow breath and allow your body to relax. There is nothing you need to imagine clearly and nothing you need to remember later. Tonight we are simply drifting into a quiet question, a gentle thought. What if, one night you closed your eyes in the modern world, and when you opened them again you were no longer here? What if you woke up in medieval times, not as a king or a hero, but simply as an ordinary person, opening their eyes to a world that feels unfamiliar, slow, and quietly overwhelming? Imagine the first moment of waking. Your eyes open slowly, and the light feels different. It is softer, uneven, and warmer, as if coming from a small window or an open doorway. There is no electric hum, no screen glowing nearby, no familiar sounds of modern life. Instead, you hear distant voices, muffled footsteps, and the quiet movement of animals. The air smells unfamiliar. A mix of smoke, earth, and old wood fills your breath. Your body feels stiff, not from a soft bed, but from lying on a hard surface, maybe straw or a simple wooden frame. As you sit up, confusion moves gently through your mind. The room around you is small and plain, the walls are rough. The floor is cold. There are very few objects, and each one looks handmade and worn. Nothing here feels temporary or decorative. Everything exists because it must. You realize quickly that comfort, as you once knew it, does not exist in this place. Life here is built around survival, routine, and necessity. Your clothes feel heavy and unfamiliar. Thick fabric, rough to the touch, sits against your skin. They are not designed to look good or feel soft. They are designed to last. Shoes, if you have them, feel stiff and unforgiving. Even standing up takes effort. Your body notices the difference immediately. Movements feel slower. Each step feels more deliberate. As you step outside, the world opens into narrow streets or dirt paths. Buildings lean close together, made of stone or wood, their shapes uneven and aged. People move with purpose, but not with urgency. Life here follows a rhythm shaped by daylight and seasons, not clocks or schedules. You notice faces quickly. They look tired, not dramatic, just worn. These are people who wake early, work hard, and rest when the sun disappears. There is no quiet comfort in waking here. Morning does not feel gentle. It feels practical. People rise because they must. There is work waiting, animals needing care, fires needing attention. No one asks how they slept. Sleep is not discussed. It is simply something that happens when the body can no longer stay awake. As you walk slowly, trying not to stand out, you realize something important. You are not expected to explore or discover. You are expected to belong, to fit into a role immediately. In medieval times, there is little room for confusion. Everyone has a place, and that place is usually decided by birth. You feel the weight of this understanding settle quietly in your chest. As the morning continues, sounds grow louder. Tools strike wood and stone. Animals call out. Voices rise and fall in conversations you may not understand. The smell of food cooking is heavy and simple. Bread, porridge, something boiling slowly over a fire. Food here is not about choice, it is about availability. As the night grows quieter in your mind, let this image remain soft and distant. You are only observing. There is no danger here, only difference. In the next part, We will gently explore how daily life unfolds for an ordinary person in medieval times, how work shapes the body and how routine replaces comfort. For now, remain still. Let the scene fade gently. Let your breathing slow. Let rest continue in its own time. Imagine your eyes opening slowly, not to the soft light of a modern room, but to a dull, uneven glow pushing its way through a small opening. The air feels heavy and slightly cold. There is a smell you do not recognize at first, something earthy mixed with smoke and old wood. As you lie still, you realize there is no smooth bed beneath you, only rough fabric and something hard underneath. Your body feels stiff, not because you slept poorly, but because the surface offered no comfort. This is how the morning begins in medieval times, without alarms, without silence, and without ease. As you slowly become more aware, sounds begin to reach you. They are not sharp or sudden, but constant and uneven. Somewhere nearby, someone is moving, footsteps scraping against stone or packed earth. You hear quiet voices, not rushed, not loud, just practical. Outside, animals make low sounds, part of daily life rather than something special. There is no clear separation between human life and the rest of the world here. Everything exists close together, sharing the same space, the same air, the same routine. Getting up is not simple or pleasant. Your body feels heavier than usual, and there is a slight ache in places you do not normally notice. This is not illness, just the result of sleeping without comfort. In medieval times, waking up does not mean feeling refreshed. It means continuing. People rise because the day has started, not because they feel ready. There is no concept of easing into the morning. The body adjusts as it moves, not before. Clothing waits nearby, simple and worn. Fabric is rough against the skin, not designed for softness but for use. There are no choices to make. What you wear is what you have. As you dress, you notice how everything feels heavier, thicker, and less flexible than modern clothes. Movement is slightly restricted. Nothing here is made for comfort alone. Everything serves a purpose, and comfort is not a priority. As you step outside, the morning air feels sharp and alive. The sky looks wide and pale, untouched by artificial light. The village or settlement slowly comes into view. Buildings are close together, uneven, shaped by need rather than design. There is dirt underfoot, sometimes mixed with straw or waste, and the ground feels uneven. Walking requires attention. You cannot move without looking where you step. People around you are already working. There is no clear beginning to the workday, it simply never stopped. Some tend to animals, others prepare food, others move tools or goods. No one seems surprised by hardship. Faces are calm, but tired. This is normal life. There is little conversation, not because people are unfriendly, but because energy is saved for necessary tasks. Hunger arrives early. Food is not something enjoyed slowly. It is fuel. A simple meal, often bread or porridge, is eaten quickly. Flavors are plain. Portions are small. There is no expectation of satisfaction, only survival. Eating is part of the routine, not an event. When the food is gone, there is no replacement waiting. As the morning continues, you realize something important. Time feels different here. There are no clocks guiding the day. Life moves according to light, weather, and need. Hours are not counted. Tasks flow into one another without pause. This makes the day feel long, not because it is busy, but because there are no clear breaks. As the night grows quiet in your modern world, imagine yourself standing there in this medieval morning, adjusting to a life where nothing is designed for ease. The body adapts because it must. The mind quiets because there is no space for unnecessary thought. Everything becomes smaller, simpler, and heavier at the same time. For now, remain still. Let this strange morning settle into the background. Let the sounds soften. Let rest continue gently in its own time. Imagine you have now fully woken up in medieval times. The first few moments of confusion have passed, and the reality of this world begins to settle in slowly, almost heavily. Your body feels different here. The air smells unfamiliar, a mix of earth, smoke, animals, and damp wood. There is no clean freshness, no sharp separation between indoors and outdoors. Everything blends together. Even standing still, you feel exposed, as if the world is much closer to your body than you are used to. There is no soft barrier between you and the environment. The ground is uneven beneath your feet. The air touches your skin directly, and the sounds around you never fully stop. Daily life in medieval times is built around survival, not comfort. From the moment you wake up, your body is already working. There is no sense of easing into the day. People rise early because daylight is precious, and every hour matters. Tasks begin immediately. Water must be fetched, fires must be fed, animals must be checked, and food preparation starts long before hunger appears. Your body quickly realizes that rest is not something planned. It only happens when work pauses, and even then it is brief and incomplete. There are no chairs designed for comfort, no quiet spaces meant for relaxation. Sitting means perching on rough wood or stone. Lying down means resting on hard surfaces that never fully support the body. Hygiene is another quiet shock. Cleanliness exists, but it is limited by knowledge and resources. Water is heavy and difficult to carry. Heating it takes time and fuel. Bathing is rare, not because people do not care, but because it is impractical. The body feels constantly dusty, slightly sticky, and never fully refreshed. Clothes absorb sweat, smoke, and dirt, and washing them is a slow process that cannot be done often. Over time, you stop noticing the discomfort sharply, but it never disappears. It becomes part of the background of existence, like noise that never fully fades. Food, which once brought pleasure and choice, now becomes repetitive and functional. Meals are simple and based on availability, not preference. Bread is coarse and heavy. Vegetables are basic and seasonal. Meat is rare for most people and often preserved in ways that change its taste and texture. Spices are expensive and limited. Eating is not an experience to savor. It is something to do quickly before returning to work. Hunger is common, but it is a quiet hunger, a constant low feeling rather than sharp pain. Your body learns to live slightly unsatisfied most of the time. Clothing adds another layer of discomfort. Fabrics are rough and stiff, especially against sensitive skin. There is little tailoring for personal fit. Clothes are layered for warmth, but they trap moisture and restrict movement. In summer, heat becomes heavy and inescapable. In winter, cold finds its way through every gap. There is no perfect balance, only endurance. Shoes are hard and offer little protection from the uneven ground. Every step reminds you that the world beneath your feet is not designed for ease. Noise never fully leaves. Animals move and call out. Tools strike wood and stone. Voices carry through narrow spaces. At night, sounds change rather than disappear. Wind moves through gaps in buildings. Animals shift and breathe. The world never truly sleeps. This constant presence of sound keeps the mind slightly alert, even during rest. Silence, when it comes, feels unusual rather than comforting. Social life is also different from what you are used to. Privacy is rare. Lives overlap constantly. People see each other working, eating, resting, and struggling. There is little space to withdraw completely. At the same time, emotional expression is restrained. Survival leaves little room for reflection or discussion of feelings. Life moves forward through routine rather than conversation. This creates a strange mix of closeness and distance, where people are always near, but not deeply connected. As the day continues, fatigue builds slowly but steadily. Not the clean tiredness that comes from exercise, but a deep weariness that settles into muscles and joints. There is no clear end to the day's effort, only a gradual slowing as light fades. When darkness finally arrives, rest is not luxurious. It is simply the absence of movement. Sleep comes because the body cannot continue, not because conditions are ideal. As the night grows quiet around you in this medieval world, you begin to understand that daily life itself is the challenge. There is no single dramatic hardship, but a constant layering of small discomforts that never fully go away. This is what shapes people here. Not sudden danger, but endless endurance. Let this image soften now. Let the weight of that day fade gently into the background. Your body can remain still. Your breathing can stay slow. In the next part, we will move deeper into how work, labor, and survival shape every moment of medieval life. Always calmly, always slowly. If you woke up in medieval times, one of the first things you would notice is not the buildings, the clothing, or the people, but the constant presence of hunger. Food was not something enjoyed for pleasure or variety. It was something chaste, guarded, and stretched as far as possible. Most people woke each day already slightly hungry, because meals were small, simple, and often delayed. Breakfast as we know it did not exist for most. The morning began with work, not food, and the body was expected to function on very little. Hunger was not an emergency. It was a normal feeling that followed people everywhere. Meals were repetitive and plain. Bread was the center of daily eating, but it was not soft or fresh like modern bread. It was dense, dark, and often stale. Sometimes it was so hard that it needed to be soaked in liquid just to be eaten. Vegetables were seasonal and limited. Meat was rare for ordinary people and usually saved for special days. Most meals tasted the same day after day, week after week. There was no choice, no menu, and no guarantee that food would even be available when expected. Eating was quiet and practical, not social or relaxing. If you woke up in medieval times, your stomach would never feel fully satisfied. Even after eating, hunger often returned quickly. Portions were small because food had to last. Families learned to live with this feeling. Children grew up understanding hunger as part of life, not as a problem to solve. This constant lack of nourishment made people tired more easily. Work felt heavier. Recovery took longer. Illness lasted longer. The body was always operating slightly below its strength. Food storage was another challenge. Without refrigeration, food spoiled quickly. Grains attracted insects. Meat went bad fast. Even water could be unsafe to drink. This meant people ate whatever they had before it was lost, even if it did not taste good or feel safe. The fear of running out shaped daily behavior. Nothing was wasted. Scraps were saved. Leftovers were reused. Hunger taught carefulness in every small action. Cooking itself was slow and difficult. Fires had to be managed carefully. Fuel was precious. Smoke filled small spaces, making eyes burn and lungs ache. Cooking was labor, not creativity. The same meals were prepared again and again because they were familiar and required fewer resources. There was comfort in repetition, but also exhaustion. Food did not bring joy. It brought survival. As you imagine living like this, notice how different your body would feel. Energy would rise and fall unpredictably. Strength would be limited. Rest would not fully restore you because nutrition was never enough. This constant physical strain shaped medieval life deeply. It affected how people worked, how long they lived, and how much they could endure. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image of daily hunger to soften and fade. You do not need to carry it with you. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow and gentle. In the next part, we will move calmly into the world of medieval work and labor, where daily effort shaped every moment of life. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. If you woke up in medieval times, one of the first quiet shocks to your body would be food. Not because it was dramatic or exciting, but because it was limited, repetitive, and deeply tied to survival. Meals were not moments of pleasure or choice. They were pauses in the day meant to keep the body moving just a little longer. Most people ate the same simple foods again and again, day after day, week after week. Bread was the center of nearly every meal, heavy and coarse, often dark and rough on the teeth. It filled the stomach but offered little comfort. The body learned to accept fullness without satisfaction. Imagine sitting at a wooden table, or sometimes not even a table at all, just a bench or the ground. Food is placed in front of you without decoration or variety. There is no menu, no decision to make. You eat what is available, and what is available depends entirely on the season, the harvest, and your place in society. Meat is rare for most people, saved for special days or religious festivals. Vegetables are simple and local, boiled until soft, their flavor quiet and plain. Spices exist, but they belong to the wealthy. For most, taste is secondary to endurance. Hunger is not dramatic here. It does not arrive as sharp pain. It exists as a low, steady presence in the body. Even after eating, there is often a feeling of emptiness, as if the body is always waiting for the next meal. This constant mild hunger shapes how people move, think, and rest. Energy is carefully used. There is no overeating, no late-night snacks, no comfort food. The body adapts by slowing itself, conserving strength whenever possible. Drinking is just as simple. Clean water is not always trusted, so ale or weak beer is common even for children. It is not about pleasure or escape. It is about safety. The taste is mild, the effect gentle. There is no sharp separation between eating, drinking, and working. Everything blends into a steady rhythm that carries the day forward without excitement. Food preparation itself is slow and physical. Grinding grain, baking bread, stirring pots over open fires all take time and effort. The smell of cooking fills the air. but it does not promise abundance. It promises routine. Meals arrive when work allows, not when hunger asks. This teaches the body patience, a patience that feels heavy to modern senses. As night approaches, there is no large dinner to look forward to. Evening meals are often small, meant to quiet hunger just enough to allow sleep. Going to bed slightly hungry is normal. The body learns to rest without fullness. Sleep comes not from comfort, but from exhaustion. As you imagine this simple, restrained relationship with food, notice how quiet it feels. There is no excitement, no indulgence, only repetition and necessity. This is what eating feels like when survival shapes every choice. As the night grows quieter now, let this image soften and fade. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow and gentle. Allow rest to continue calmly, in its own time. If you truly woke up in medieval times, one of the first things you would notice after the cold and the unfamiliar sounds would be hunger. Not the quick hunger we feel today that can be solved easily, but a slow, constant hunger that quietly lived inside people every day. Food was not guaranteed. Meals were simple, repetitive, and often small. Bread was the center of life. Coarse bread, heavy and dark, made from grains that were not always clean or well ground. It filled the stomach just enough to keep the body moving, but it was rarely satisfying. Meat was rare for most people, eaten only on special days, if at all. Vegetables depended on the season, and fruit was something many only tasted briefly when it was fresh, then went months without seeing again. Cooking was slow and basic. There were no precise recipes, no rich flavors layered together. Food was cooked over open fires, often unevenly. Some bites were burnt, others undercooked. Clean water was not always easy to find, so drinks were simple and limited. Ale or weak beer was common even for children, because it was often safer than water. If you woke up in this world, your modern taste would disappear quickly. You would eat whatever was available, not because you enjoyed it, but because you needed strength to get through the day. Hunger shaped behavior in quiet ways. People planned their days around food, not pleasure. Work was done to earn the next meal. Wasting food was unthinkable. Even crumbs mattered. If a harvest failed, hunger became fear. If winter was long, hunger became weakness. Bodies grew thin. Illness spread more easily. Many people lived their entire lives slightly underfed, never knowing what it felt like to be truly full. As the night grows quiet, imagine yourself sitting near a small fire, holding a piece of rough bread in your hands. You chew slowly, not to enjoy it, but to make it last. Around you, others eat in silence, saving energy. This was normal. This was life. Comfort did not come from food, it came from simply having enough to survive another day. Food also marked social class clearly. If you were lucky enough to wake up in a wealthier home, meals would be richer, with more variety and warmth. But even then, luxury was limited compared to modern life. There were no endless choices, no late-night snacks, no abundance. Everything depended on land, weather, and labor. Even the rich feared poor harvests, because hunger respected no title. If you woke up in medieval times, food would teach you patience, it would teach you restraint. It would teach you that survival was slow, repetitive, and fragile. Every meal would feel earned, not enjoyed. And as the body adjusted, Hunger would stop feeling dramatic and start feeling normal, becoming part of the quiet background of life. As you imagine this now, let the image soften. You do not need to hold on to the discomfort. Let the fire fade. Let the scene grow still. In the next part, we will gently move into daily work and labor, and how your body would struggle to keep up in a world without rest. For now, remain still, let the quiet deepen. Let rest continue in its own time. As more days pass in this medieval world, your body begins to notice that time moves differently here. There are no clocks, no alarms, and no strict hours telling you when to wake or sleep. Instead, the rhythm of life is guided by light, sound, and routine. You wake when the sky begins to change color and when movement starts around you. Sleep comes earlier than you are used to, not because you are forced, but because darkness arrives quickly and brings quiet with it. Your body, at first confused, slowly begins to follow this natural rhythm without effort. Work shapes the body in steady, repetitive ways. Muscles are used daily, not in sudden bursts, but in slow, constant motion. Carrying water, walking long distances, lifting simple tools, and standing for hours become normal. At first, your body feels sore and heavy. Then slowly it adapts. Strength builds quietly. Movements become more efficient. The body learns how to conserve energy because rest is precious and never guaranteed. This physical adaptation is not fast, but it is steady, shaped by necessity rather than choice. Food, though simple, begins to feel more meaningful. Meals are smaller and less frequent than you may be used to. Bread, grains, vegetables, and simple stews form the base of daily eating. There is little variety, but the body adjusts. Hunger becomes familiar, not painful, just present. Over time, the body learns to function with less, using food carefully rather than constantly. Eating becomes an act of survival rather than pleasure, and this changes how hunger is felt. It becomes quieter, less demanding. Sleep also changes in quality and pattern. Nights are darker than anything you have known before. Without artificial light, darkness feels complete and heavy. Sounds stand out more clearly. A cough, footsteps, wind, or animals moving outside are all heard distinctly. Sleep comes in parts. You may wake during the night, sit quietly, then sleep again. This broken sleep feels strange at first, but slowly, the body accepts it. There is no pressure to stay asleep. Rest happens in waves, and the body recovers in its own way. Emotionally, your senses sharpen. Without constant noise and distraction, the world feels closer. Small details become noticeable. The texture of stone, the smell of wood smoke, the sound of tools striking metal, and the feeling of earth beneath your feet all become part of daily awareness. The mind becomes less crowded. Thoughts slow down. Worries still exist, but they move more slowly, shaped by immediate needs rather than distant concerns. As you continue to live in this time, you begin to understand that life here does not rush you. It exhausts you, but it also grounds you. Every action has weight. Every movement costs energy. Because of this, nothing is wasted. The body and mind learn efficiency, patience, and endurance. There is little room for overthinking. Survival keeps thought simple. As the night grows quiet again, imagine yourself lying down after a long medieval day. Your body is tired in a deep, honest way. Muscles relax into stillness. The darkness surrounds you completely. There is no need to check time, no need to plan far ahead. Just rest, arriving naturally, one breath at a time. Let your body stay still. Let your breathing slow. Let the rhythm of this older world carry you gently toward sleep. As the days continue to pass in this medieval world, you begin to notice something that feels heavier than hunger, dirt, or even fear. Time itself feels different. There is no clear sense of progress, no fast movement toward a better future, and no feeling that tomorrow will be easier than today. Life moves slowly, not in a peaceful way, but in a repetitive, unchanging rhythm. Each day looks very much like the one before it. You wake up early with the light, work until your body feels worn, eat simple food, and lie down again when darkness arrives. This routine does not change much from season to season, year to year. Over time, this sameness begins to weigh on the mind. Without clocks, calendars, or modern schedules, time is measured only by light, weather, and exhaustion. Days feel long, especially when work is hard and rest is short. Yet years pass quietly, almost unnoticed. There are few milestones to mark life clearly. No birthdays celebrated every year, no clear achievements recognized, no sense of moving forward step by step. Instead, life feels like a long stretch of effort with very few pauses. This makes the future feel vague and distant. You do not plan far ahead, because survival today already demands most of your energy. Routine becomes both a comfort and a burden. On one hand, doing the same tasks every day makes life predictable. You know what is expected of you. You know how to survive this day because you survived yesterday. But on the other hand, this routine leaves little room for change or hope. Dreams are small, often limited to simple wishes like a good harvest, a healthy family member, or a winter that is not too harsh. Bigger dreams feel unrealistic, even dangerous to think about. Over time, the mind learns not to expect much because expecting less hurts less. Work fills most of the waking hours. Whether you are farming, carrying goods, cleaning, or helping in a household, physical labor is constant. There is no real break from it. Even rest days are not truly restful because there is always something that needs attention. The body adapts by becoming strong in simple ways, but also tired in deep ways. Muscles ache. Joints feel stiff. Fatigue becomes normal, something you stop noticing because it is always there. Entertainment is rare and simple. There are no screens, no music on demand, no endless distractions. Sometimes there are small gatherings, local stories told by firelight, or religious festivals that briefly break the routine. These moments feel special, not because they are exciting, but because they are different. When they end, life quickly returns to its usual rhythm. This makes the ordinary days feel even longer by comparison. As you live within this slow passage of time, you begin to understand that medieval life is not just physically hard, but mentally heavy. The lack of change, the narrow future, and the constant repetition slowly shape how people think. Patience becomes necessary, not because it is valued, but because there is no alternative. Complaining changes nothing. Waiting becomes a skill. Endurance becomes a way of life. As the night grows quiet again, imagine lying down after another long day that felt very much like all the others. Your body is tired, your mind is dull, and tomorrow looks almost exactly the same. Let that image soften now. You do not need to stay there. Let your breathing slow. Let the weight of that medieval routine drift away as you rest here safely in the present. In the next part, we will move gently into how people in medieval times found small moments of meaning. Belief and comfort within this heavy routine, always slowly, always calmly. For now, remain still. Let the quiet deepen, let rest continue in its own time. As the medieval night slowly arrived, it did not bring the kind of rest that modern people expect. Darkness came early, guided by the fading sun rather than by clocks or schedules. When you imagine yourself lying down in medieval times, you would quickly notice how unfamiliar the night feels. There is no quiet comfort, no sense of safety that allows the body to fully relax. Instead, the night is filled with small sounds, shifting shadows, and an awareness that danger, illness, or discomfort could appear at any moment. Sleep is not something you fall into easily. It is something that comes in pieces, interrupted and light. Most medieval people did not sleep for long, unbroken hours. Their rest was divided. They would sleep for a while, wake naturally in the middle of the night, sit quietly, pray, think, or simply wait, and then return to sleep again. This pattern felt normal to them. But for someone waking up suddenly from modern life, it would feel strange and unsettling. The body never fully lets go. Even while sleeping, awareness stays close to the surface. Every sound can pull you back into wakefulness. Beds, if they existed at all, were simple and uncomfortable. Straw-filled mattresses, rough blankets, and shared sleeping spaces were common. Privacy was rare. Families often slept together in the same room, sometimes in the same bed. The air was heavy with smoke from fires used for warmth and cooking. Breathing was not always easy. The smell of damp wood, animals nearby, and unwashed clothing filled the room. The body struggled to find a position that felt even slightly comfortable. Cold was a constant presence. Even indoors, the night air crept in through cracks in walls and poorly sealed doors. Coverings were thin, and warmth was shared rather than guaranteed. In winter, sleep was shallow because the body worked constantly to stay warm. In summer, insects and heat made rest equally difficult. No season offered perfect conditions. The body adapted, but it never rested deeply. The mind also stayed active at night. Thoughts wandered to food, illness, work, and survival. There was no artificial light to distract or comfort. Darkness was complete. Candles were used carefully and sparingly. Once they were out, the world disappeared. This total darkness made imagination stronger. Sounds felt closer. Time felt slower. The night stretched long, not because it was frightening, but because there was nothing to distract the mind from itself. Illness made sleep even harder. Medieval people lived with constant aches, infections, and untreated pain. Teeth hurt, joints ached, small wounds lingered. Lying down did not bring relief. It simply gave the body time to notice discomfort more clearly. Sleep became shallow and restless, broken by the need to shift, scratch, or breathe more easily. As you imagine waking up again in the middle of this medieval night, notice how tired the body feels without ever feeling refreshed. Morning does not arrive with energy. It arrives with continuation. The same tiredness carries forward into the next day. This cycle repeats again and again, shaping a life where rest is never complete, only partial. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image to soften and drift away. You do not need to stay awake in this medieval darkness. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. Allow rest to continue gently, without effort, in its own time. When night finally arrived in medieval times, it did not bring comfort in the way we understand it today. Darkness was not something to relax into. It was something to endure. Imagine the sun slowly fading, the air turning colder, and the world becoming quieter, but not safer. There were no streetlights, no locked doors you could fully trust, and no sense that night belonged to rest. Instead, night belonged to uncertainty. The moment darkness settled, the body remained alert, listening carefully to sounds that might mean danger. Sleep, when it came, was light and easily broken. Most people did not sleep alone. Families shared small spaces, sometimes a single room, sometimes just one area near a fire. Animals might sleep nearby for warmth. The ground was hard, beds were rare, and mattresses were often made of straw that shifted and poked through thin fabric. Blankets were heavy but insufficient against the cold. The body never fully relaxed. Muscles stayed slightly tense, prepared to wake at any sound. Even children learned early to sleep lightly. The night air carried many sounds. Wind moving through wooden walls, distant animals, footsteps outside, coughing, shifting bodies, and the crackle of dying firewood. Silence was never complete, and neither was peace. The mind learned to half sleep, drifting in and out of awareness. This kind of sleep did not refresh the body fully. Instead, it allowed survival. People woke tired, stiff, and sore, not because they had worked too hard the day before, but because true rest rarely happened. There was also fear attached to sleep itself. Illness often worsened at night. Fires could spread unnoticed. Thieves moved in darkness. In some places, guards or watchmen called out the hours, reminding everyone that night was passing, but also that danger remained. Waking suddenly was common, and returning to sleep took time. Dreams blended with reality, creating confusion and unease. Nightmares were not unusual. Fed by hunger, fear, and exhaustion, cold was a constant presence. Even indoors, temperatures dropped sharply after sunset. People slept in their clothing, sometimes wearing hats or wrapping cloth around their heads. Breath fogged in the air. Fingers stiffened. The body burned energy just to stay warm. This meant hunger returned quickly, even after eating earlier. The cycle of poor sleep and poor nutrition fed into each other, making nights longer and harder. Sleep schedules were also different. People often slept in two parts, waking in the middle of the night for a quiet hour or two before returning to rest. This waking period was used for prayer, tending fires, or simply waiting for sleep to return. It was not seen as strange. It was normal. The body adapted to it. But this meant deep, uninterrupted sleep was rare. Rest came in fragments. As you imagine lying there in medieval darkness, notice how exposed it feels. There is no button to turn on light, no clock glowing softly, no reassurance that the world is secure. Just breathing bodies, cold air, and the slow passing of time. This is another reason why waking up in medieval times would feel overwhelming. Even rest, the most basic human need, offered no true escape. As the night grows quiet now, let this image slowly fade. Let your own body relax into the safety you have now. Let your breathing slow. Let the story continue drifting softly in the background. As the medieval day slowly comes to an end, the world around you begins to change in quiet and gentle ways. The sky softens, colors fade, and movement gradually slows. There is no sudden switch between day and night, no bright lights turning on, no clear signal that the day is finished. Instead, the evening simply settles in. People finish what they are doing because the light is leaving, not because a clock tells them to stop. The sound of work fades. Tools are put away. Animals are guided back to shelter. The pace of life becomes slower, heavier, and calmer. As night arrives, you begin to understand how different darkness feels in medieval times. There are no streetlights, no glowing windows stretching across the land. Darkness is deep and complete. Firelight becomes precious. Inside homes, small flames flicker gently, casting soft shadows on wooden walls and stone floors. Outside, the world disappears into quiet shapes and faint sounds. This darkness is not frightening in a dramatic way, but it is powerful. It reminds everyone that the day is over and that rest is necessary. Evenings are quiet and simple. There is no entertainment in the modern sense. No music playing endlessly, no screens, no constant voices. Conversation, when it happens, is soft and brief. People are tired from physical labor, and the body naturally wants rest. Meals are simple and eaten early. Warmth is shared. Silence is accepted. This quiet is not empty. It feels full, steady, and natural, as if the world itself is slowing down with you. As you prepare to sleep, you notice how different rest feels in this time. There is no rushing to sleep and no pressure to fall asleep quickly. People lie down because darkness has arrived, not because they are forcing rest. Sleeping spaces are basic. Straw mattresses, wooden frames, or simple blankets are common. Comfort is limited, but familiarity makes up for it. Bodies have adapted to this way of resting, and stillness comes more easily after a long day of movement. The night is not expected to be silent or uninterrupted. People wake during the night naturally. They shift, adjust blankets, maybe add wood to a fire if needed. These moments are calm and unremarkable. Waking does not mean something is wrong. It is simply part of rest. The idea of sleeping straight through the night does not exist yet. Sleep comes in gentle waves, and that feels normal. Outside, the medieval night carries quiet sounds. Wind moves through trees. Animals stir softly. Somewhere in the distance, another household settles into rest. These sounds do not disturb sleep. They belong to it. The mind learns which sounds are safe, and once it learns this, it relaxes more deeply. As you lie there, imagine feeling your body finally release the weight of the day. Muscles soften, breathing slows. Thoughts become fewer. There is nothing left to do and nowhere left to go. The darkness holds everything gently. In this world, night is not something to fight or escape. It is something to enter. As the night grows quiet, let your body remain still. Let the medieval world fade softly around you. Let rest arrive in its own time, just as it has for countless people before you. As the day in medieval times slowly comes to an end, night arrives very differently than it does today. There are no bright lights to keep the world awake, no glowing screens, no noise that continues endlessly. Darkness settles gently and completely. The sky grows deep and wide, and shadows stretch quietly across the land. For someone who has suddenly woken up in this time, Night may feel heavier, but also calmer. The body naturally slows down, guided by the fading light. Work stops not because it is finished, but because it can no longer continue. The world becomes still, not by choice, but by nature. As evening deepens, people retreat into small homes, shared rooms, or simple shelters. Families gather close together, not for conversation or entertainment, but for warmth and safety. Firelight flickers softly, casting slow-moving shadows on wooden walls and stone floors. The smell of smoke hangs gently in the air. There is no rush to stay awake. No one fights the night. The body feels tired from a long day of physical effort, and rest is welcomed without question. Sleep is not something to plan or worry about. It simply arrives. Lying down in medieval times feels very different. There are no soft mattresses, no pillows shaped for comfort. Sleep happens on straw, wooden platforms, or packed earth. Blankets are heavy and rough, often shared. Yet despite the lack of comfort, the body settles quickly. Muscles that have worked all day relax into stillness. Breathing slows. The mind does not race with endless thoughts. There is little information to process, little anticipation of tomorrow. Sleep comes in waves, sometimes light, sometimes deep, and waking during the night is normal and accepted. Sounds of the night drift gently through the darkness. The distant call of animals, the soft crackle of dying embers, the quiet breathing of others nearby. These sounds do not disturb sleep. They belong to it. Silence is never complete, and that is comforting. The world feels alive but calm. There is no expectation to sleep through the night without waking. People stir, shift, sometimes wake briefly, then return to rest without concern. The night is long, and there is time for sleep to come and go. As someone waking up in medieval times, this rhythm may feel strange at first, but it quickly becomes natural. The body adjusts to darkness, to quiet, to the slow movement of time. There is no clock measuring rest, no pressure to be productive tomorrow. Sleep is simply part of life, woven into the night as naturally as breathing. Even fear fades as the body learns that night is not something to fight, but something to move through gently. As the night grows deeper, dreams drift softly, shaped by daily life and simple images. They are not sharp or overwhelming. They pass quietly, often forgotten by morning. When sleep deepens, it feels heavy and complete, carried by exhaustion and darkness. And when morning eventually comes, it arrives slowly, with light filtering gently back into the world. As you imagine this medieval night settling around you, allow your own body to mirror that calm. Let your breathing slow. Let your muscles soften. You do not need to stay alert. You do not need to think ahead. For now, simply rest, as people once did, guided by darkness and quiet. As the day slowly faded in medieval times, night did not arrive suddenly. It crept in gently, carried by longer shadows and cooling air. If you had woken up in this world, you would notice how different evening felt compared to modern life. There were no bright lights switching on, no screens glowing, and no clear division between day and night. Work slowed naturally as sunlight weakened. People finished their tasks not because of clocks, but because their eyes and bodies told them it was time to stop. The world itself seemed to exhale as darkness settled in. Homes grew quieter as night deepened. Inside simple houses, candles or small fires offered only soft light, enough to see nearby faces, but not enough to keep the mind alert for long. The smell of smoke mixed with wood and earth, creating an atmosphere that felt heavy and calm. Conversation softened, voices lowered, and movement slowed. People did not stay busy late into the night. There was little reason to. Without strong light, without entertainment, and without urgency, the body naturally prepared for rest. Sleep in medieval times was closely tied to this darkness. If you woke up in this world, you would quickly feel how early people went to rest. Night felt long, open, and unbroken. Beds were simple, often shared, and sometimes nothing more than straw or blankets laid on the floor. Comfort was limited, but familiarity made it easier to relax. The body learned to rest even on hard surfaces because that was normal. Sleep was not expected to be perfect or deep all at once. It came in waves. Many people woke during the night, sometimes for prayer, sometimes for quiet thought, and sometimes for simple tasks. This was not considered a problem. It was part of the rhythm of life. After waking, people returned to sleep without anxiety. There was no pressure to stay asleep continuously. The night belonged to rest, not to productivity. Outside, the medieval world grew still. Streets emptied, shops closed, sounds became distant and rare. An animal moving, the wind against stone, or a distant voice carried clearly through the quiet. This silence was not uncomfortable. It was expected. Darkness was trusted. People did not fear the night the way modern minds often do. They understood it as a natural pause in life. If you were lying there, listening to this quiet medieval night, you would feel how the absence of noise slowly calmed the mind. Thoughts would move more slowly. The body would grow heavy. There was nothing demanding attention, no future plans to worry about. Just the slow passing of time and the steady presence of darkness. As the night grew deeper, sleep settled more fully. Breathing slowed, muscles softened, even worries faded, not because life was easy, but because there was nothing to do about them in the dark. Night accepted everything and asked for nothing in return. As you imagine this medieval night now, allow its calm to reach you as well. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow and natural. Allow the quiet to deepen around you, just as it did for people centuries ago. As night slowly falls in medieval times, the world around you changes in a way that feels unfamiliar and heavy. There are no bright lights to soften the darkness, no gentle glow filling the streets or homes. When the sun disappears, darkness takes over completely, thick and deep, wrapping everything in shadow. Inside small houses, light comes only from weak candles or a low fire, flickering softly and never fully pushing the dark away. This darkness is not peaceful in the way modern nights can be. It feels alive, full of unknown sounds and quiet movement, and your body reacts by staying alert even when it is tired. Sleep in medieval times is not something that comes easily or deeply. You lie down on a rough bed made of straw or thin fabric, often shared with others in the same small space. The ground beneath feels hard, uneven, and cold. Your body aches from a long day of unfamiliar work, yet your mind refuses to fully relax. Outside, you hear distant voices, animals moving, wind brushing against wooden walls, and sometimes sounds you cannot clearly understand. Each sound feels important, Your body remains tense, listening, ready to wake at the smallest change. As you try to rest, you realize how exposed you feel. There are no locked doors that truly feel secure, no sense of complete safety. Nighttime is when danger feels closer. Theft, illness, fire, and sudden trouble are all more likely in the dark. People wake often, not because they choose to, but because sleep comes in short, broken pieces. You drift off briefly, then wake again, your body unsure whether it is safe to stay still. This pattern continues through the night, creating a kind of half-rest that never fully restores you. The air inside medieval homes grows heavy at night. Smoke from fires lingers. The smell of people, animals, damp wood, and earth fills the space. Breathing feels thicker, and your chest rises and falls more slowly as your body adjusts. You turn from side to side, trying to find a position that hurts less, but comfort is rare. Sleep is not about relaxation here. It is about endurance. You rest because your body must, not because the night invites peace. Dreams, when they come, are shallow and easily broken. Your mind is filled with images from the day, strange faces, hard work, unfamiliar rules, and quiet fear. Even in sleep, the medieval world does not fully let you go. Morning does not feel far away, but it also does not promise relief. Dawn simply brings another day of survival. As you imagine this night slowly passing, notice how different it feels from modern rest. This is why waking up in medieval times would be so difficult. Even sleep, something meant to heal and restore, becomes another challenge to face. The body never fully shuts down. The mind never fully relaxes. Rest exists, but it is fragile, shallow, and uncertain. As the night grows quiet once more, allow this image to soften and fade. You do not need to stay in this place. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. Allow rest to return gently, in its own calm and familiar way. As the medieval day slowly comes to an end, the world around you begins to change in a quiet and gentle way. The sun sinks lower, shadows stretch across dirt roads, and the busy sounds of work begin to fade. You feel it in your body before you fully notice it around you. Your muscles are tired in a deep, honest way. Not the tiredness of sitting too long, but the tiredness that comes from real movement, real labor, and long hours spent outdoors. As evening settles in, there is no choice about rest. The day has taken what it needed from your body, and now the night has arrived to take you back. Imagine standing in a small medieval village as dusk arrives. There are no bright lights to fight the darkness, no glowing screens, no lamps lighting every corner. Only the soft orange glow of firelight begins to appear inside homes. Smoke rises slowly into the cooling air. The sounds become fewer. Tools are put away. Animals are guided into shelter. Doors close gently, not with locks and alarms, but with simple wooden bars and quiet trust in routine. The world does not stay awake late. It follows the sun, and now it is ready to sleep. Inside a medieval home, the space is small and simple. There are no separate bedrooms the way we know them. People sleep where they live. Straw is spread on the floor, or a rough wooden bed frame holds sacks filled with dried grass. Blankets are heavy and scratchy, but they are warm. The air smells of smoke, earth, and worn fabric. It is not uncomfortable in a dramatic way. It is just basic. Your body accepts it because it has no expectation of more. As you lie down, you realize something important. The night is truly dark. When the fire is lowered or put out, darkness fills the room completely. Your eyes cannot search for distractions. There is nothing to scroll, nothing to check, nothing pulling your attention away. Your thoughts slow naturally, not because you force them to, but because the world has given them no fuel. The mind follows the darkness into rest. Sleep in medieval times does not arrive suddenly. It comes slowly like drifting water. You close your eyes, but you may not fall asleep right away. And that is normal. People often woke during the night. They slept in two parts, with a quiet waking period in between. During that time, someone might pray softly, think quietly, or simply lie still. There was no anxiety about this. Waking was not seen as failure. It was part of the rhythm of night. Your body, unused to this world, slowly begins to adapt. The firm surface beneath you supports you differently. Your breathing deepens. The tiredness pulls you downward. Outside, the village is silent except for distant animals or the wind moving through trees. There is no rush toward morning, no alarm waiting to pull you back. The night feels wide and patient. As sleep finally takes you, it is deep, not because it is perfect, but because it is honest. Your body has worked, your senses have quieted, your mind has nothing to cling to. In medieval times, sleep was not optimized or measured. It simply happened, night after night, guided by darkness and routine. As the night grows quieter now, allow this image to soften. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. Let the medieval night fade gently into rest. If you truly woke up in medieval times, one of the first things your body would struggle to accept would be constant physical discomfort. Life in the medieval world was not designed for ease. There were no clean floors, no soft furniture, and no regular washing. Dirt was everywhere. It covered the ground, clung to clothing, and stayed on the skin for long periods of time. Bathing was rare, not because people did not want to be clean, but because warm water was difficult to prepare and often reserved for special occasions. Most people washed only small parts of their bodies, using cold water when available. The rest was simply accepted. Over time, smell became part of everyday life. People stopped noticing it because there was nothing to compare it to. Clothing added to this discomfort. Clothes were worn for long periods without washing. Fabrics absorbed sweat, smoke, and dust, becoming stiff and heavy. Shoes were rough and offered little protection. Walking for long hours left feet sore and injured. There were no soft beds to return to at night. Sleeping places were hard, uneven, and shared. Even when exhausted, the body struggled to find a comfortable position. Rest came not because the body felt comfortable, but because it had no other choice. The environment itself worked against comfort. Homes were cold in winter and damp throughout the year. Smoke from fires filled the air inside houses, irritating eyes and lungs. Light was dim, coming only from small windows or firelight. This made daily tasks harder and strained the eyes. Even eating was uncomfortable. Meals were simple and repetitive, eaten quickly, often while standing or sitting on rough surfaces. There was no separation between work, rest, and living space. Everything happened in the same small area. Illness was another constant presence. Small injuries became infected easily. Skin problems, parasites, and breathing issues were common. Pain was accepted as part of life. There were few treatments, and many people learned to live with discomfort rather than expect relief. Your modern body, used to cleanliness and comfort, would find this constant strain overwhelming. Even simple actions like sitting, sleeping, or breathing would require adjustment. As days passed, the lack of comfort would begin to affect the mind. Constant physical irritation made patients thin. There was little opportunity to relax fully. The body remained tense, always reacting to cold, hunger, or pain. Sleep, even when it came, was shallow. The mind never fully rested because the body never fully relaxed. As the night grows quiet now, imagine carrying this discomfort through every hour of the day without relief, without expectation that it would ever improve. Notice how heavy that feels, even without danger or drama. This is another reason why waking up in medieval times would be so difficult. Life was not just hard in moments, it was hard all the time. Let this image soften now. You do not need to hold on to it. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow gently. Allow rest to continue quietly, in its own time. As the long medieval day slowly faded, night arrived without ceremony, without comfort, and without any clear sense of safety. Imagine standing in a small village as the light softens and shadows stretch across the ground. There are no street lights turning on, no glowing windows filled with warmth. Darkness comes fully and completely, wrapping the world in quiet uncertainty. People retreat indoors early, not because they are tired, but because the night outside belongs to things unseen. Doors are closed, wooden bars are set in place, and fires are kept low to conserve fuel. If you woke up in medieval times, this night would feel heavier than any modern night you know. Not frightening in a dramatic way, but deeply unfamiliar and uncomfortable. Inside a simple home, the air is thick with smoke from the fire, and the smell of damp wood and earth fills the room. There is little separation between sleeping, eating, and living. Everyone gathers in the same space, sharing warmth because it is necessary, not comforting. Beds are rare. Most people sleep on straw, rough blankets, or wooden surfaces softened only by habit. The body does not sink into rest easily. The ground feels hard. The air feels cold. Sounds from outside pass through thin walls without resistance. Even rest requires endurance. Sleep itself comes differently here. It is lighter, broken, and often interrupted. People wake during the night naturally, sometimes to tend the fire, sometimes to check animals, sometimes simply because the body is not used to long, deep sleep. This waking is normal and expected. There is no clock to check, no worry about lost rest. The night is long, and sleep returns slowly when it is ready. If you woke up in medieval times, you would learn quickly that rest is not something you control. It happens in fragments shaped by cold, noise, and necessity. The mind struggles most in these hours. Without distraction, thoughts wander easily. Concerns about food, health, safety, and tomorrow's labor drift quietly through awareness. Yet there is also a strange calm in this shared darkness. Everyone around you is doing the same thing, waiting for morning, breathing slowly, existing together in the night. There is no expectation to be productive, no pressure to stay awake or fall asleep. Night is simply something to pass through. As you imagine lying there now, wrapped in rough fabric, listening to the quiet sounds of medieval life settling down, Notice how different rest feels. It is not refreshing in the modern sense. It is practical. It is enough. The body adapts because it must. Muscles loosen slowly. Breathing finds a steady rhythm. Sleep comes and goes like a gentle tide rather than a deep drop into unconsciousness. This night teaches an important lesson. In medieval times, survival shaped everything, even rest. Sleep was not designed for comfort, but for continuation. It allowed the body to recover just enough to face another demanding day. If you woke up in medieval times, this night would show you that life was not built around ease, but around endurance. As the darkness deepens, allow this image to soften and fade. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. Let the medieval night drift quietly into the background as you rest safely here, far away from it. As the medieval day finally comes to an end, night does not arrive suddenly. It settles in slowly, like a deep breath after long effort. The sky darkens without warning lights or glowing streets. The world simply becomes quieter. Fires are lowered. Doors are closed with heavy wooden sounds. Animals settle. People move less and speak softly. If you were living in medieval times, this moment would feel natural, not planned. There is no choice about staying awake late. Darkness decides for everyone. Your body begins to follow the night without resistance, guided by habit and exhaustion rather than clocks or schedules. Inside a medieval home, the night feels close and heavy, but not frightening. Shadows move gently along stone or wooden walls as firelight fades. The air cools, carrying the smell of smoke, earth, and simple food. Beds, if they exist at all, are rough and shared. Often it is just straw, blankets, or wooden boards. Comfort is not expected. The body accepts hardness without complaint because it has learned no other way. Sleep does not come from softness, but from being tired enough to let go. As you lie down, fully dressed, you notice how quiet your thoughts become. Not because life is easy, but because the body is worn out. Medieval life does not leave much energy for thinking at night. Muscles ache. Hands feel heavy. Feet burn slightly from standing or walking all day. Your breathing slows naturally, not guided by technique, but by fatigue. Sleep does not need to be chased. It arrives slowly, like something familiar. Nighttime sleep in medieval times is not long or unbroken. People wake often. Fires fade. Cold settles in. Sounds from animals or nearby homes drift through the darkness. But waking does not cause stress. There is no fear of losing sleep. There is no expectation of 8 full hours. Waking is simply part of the night. You shift your body, pull a blanket closer, close your eyes again. Sleep returns when it is ready. Dreams, when they appear, feel earthy and simple. They are shaped by daily life, fields, work, familiar faces, hunger, weather. Dreams are not exciting stories. They drift slowly and fade easily. When you wake again, there is no rush to check time or prepare for morning. The night is still long. Darkness still owns the world. As hours pass, the medieval night feels like a shared experience. Entire villages rest together. There is comfort in knowing others lie awake or asleep nearby. You are never fully alone. This quiet togetherness allows the mind to relax in a way modern life rarely permits. There is nothing to miss, nothing happening elsewhere. Night belongs to everyone equally. Toward early morning, cold air sharpens. Roosters may stir. Fires are rebuilt. Sleep grows lighter. The body begins preparing to rise without alarm or sound. Waking does not feel abrupt. It feels expected. Another day is coming, and the body knows it will have to work again. As you imagine this medieval night now, notice how simple it feels. There is no control over sleep, and because of that, there is no struggle. The body rests because it must, and wakes because it must. Nothing more is required. As the night grows quiet once again, allow this image to soften and fade. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow. The medieval world drifts away, leaving only rest behind. As the medieval day finally faded, night did not arrive with the calm and comfort you might expect. Imagine lying down after a long, tiring day, but without privacy, without softness, and without true silence. Medieval nights were not quiet in the way modern nights are. Even after darkness settled, sounds continued. Animals moved nearby. People shifted in shared spaces. Wood cracked. Wind passed through thin walls. Every sound carried meaning, and the mind learned to listen even while resting. Sleep was never deep all at once. It came slowly, in pieces. Imagine yourself lying on a rough surface, perhaps straw laid over hard ground, or a wooden bench shared with others. Your body feels tired, but it does not fully relax. Muscles stay slightly tense, adjusting again and again to find some comfort that never quite arrives. The air feels cool, sometimes damp. Coverings are thin and uneven. You turn slowly, careful not to disturb anyone nearby, because space is limited and shared. Rest is not private. It is communal, shaped by the presence of others. As the night continues, sleep comes in waves. You drift for a while, then wake briefly. This waking is not alarming. It is normal. In medieval times, people often expected to wake during the night. They might shift position, whisper softly, or simply lie awake, listening to the darkness. There is no clock to check. Time feels wide and loose. The night stretches on without pressure. Eventually, sleep returns on its own, not forced, not chased. Dreams, when they come, are shaped by daily life. Familiar faces, simple tasks, and lingering worries pass gently through the mind. The boundary between dreaming and waking feels thin. You wake slowly, aware of the space around you, then drift again. This pattern repeats until the night begins to lighten. Even rest itself feels different here. Sleep is not meant to refresh completely. It is meant to restore just enough to continue. People wake with tiredness still present, but accepted. The body learns to function this way. Comfort is not expected. Rest is practical, not luxurious. As you imagine this medieval night, notice how different it feels from modern rest. There is no perfect silence, no deep mattress, no complete escape from awareness. Yet, in this simplicity, the body adapts. Sleep still happens. Life continues. As the night grows quiet once more, allow this image to soften and fade. Let your own body remain still. Let your breathing slow gently. In the next part, we will continue forward into another part of medieval life. Always slowly, always calmly. For now, remain still. Let rest continue in its own time. As the medieval day slowly came to an end, you would begin to notice how different evening felt compared to the modern world. There were no bright lights turning on, no screens glowing, and no sudden rush to stay awake longer. Instead, the light simply faded away. The sky softened from pale blue into darker shades, and shadows stretched gently across the ground. Work slowed naturally because the body followed the light. Tools were put down not because the clock demanded it, but because the eyes could no longer see clearly. This slow fading of the day created a natural calm, allowing the body and mind to release effort without force. As evening settled, villages and towns became quieter. Voices lowered. Movement became slower. People gathered indoors not for entertainment, but for warmth and rest. Fires were lit carefully, their soft glow filling small spaces with gentle light. The flicker of flames created moving shadows on walls, giving the room a quiet rhythm. This light did not stimulate the mind. It soothed it. The body responded by slowing breathing and relaxing muscles. The night did not arrive suddenly. It arrived gradually, giving the mind time to adjust. Food in the evening was simple and modest. Heavy meals were rare. Bread, soup, or leftovers from the day were shared quietly. Eating was unhurried. There was no rush, because there was nowhere to go afterward. Conversation, if it happened, was calm and practical. Stories were short. Silence was common and comfortable. People were used to being quiet together. This shared stillness helped everyone unwind naturally. As darkness deepened, the idea of staying awake late made little sense. Without strong light, the body felt ready for rest. Sleep was not delayed or resisted. It was welcomed. Bedding was simple, often straw, cloth, or wooden surfaces softened slightly with blankets. Comfort was basic, but familiarity made it easier to relax. People slept close to one another for warmth and safety. The presence of others created reassurance, allowing the mind to let go more fully. Night sounds became part of the environment. The wind, distant animals, and occasional movement blended into a steady background. These sounds were not distractions. They were familiar signals that life continued quietly. The body learned which sounds were safe and stopped reacting to them. Sleep came in waves, sometimes light, sometimes deeper, without concern. Waking briefly during the night was normal and accepted. There was no pressure to sleep perfectly. As you imagine yourself lying there, surrounded by darkness and gentle sounds, notice how different this feels from modern nights. There is no urgency, no expectations, no need to control rest. The body simply follows nature. The mind drifts because there is nothing pulling it awake. This simple relationship with night made rest deeper and more forgiving. As the medieval night stretched on, hours passed unnoticed. Time did not matter. The body rested as long as it needed. When morning eventually returned, it would do so gently, with light creeping back into the world rather than forcing itself in. This rhythm shaped life deeply, creating balance without effort. As the night grows quiet now, allow this image to soften and fade. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing stay slow and natural. Allow rest to continue gently, just as it did for those living long ago. As the medieval day finally faded and night settled fully around you, you would begin to understand that darkness in this world felt very different from the night you know today. There were no bright lamps, no glowing screens, and no gentle hum of distant machines. Darkness arrived slowly, but once it arrived, it stayed deep and complete. Shadows filled every corner, and the sky above felt vast and close at the same time. The air cooled quickly, and with it came a heavy stillness that wrapped itself around everything. People did not fight this darkness. They accepted it. Night was not something to stay awake through. It was something that quietly told the body to slow down and give in to rest. Inside small homes and shared spaces, fires burned low, not bright enough to keep anyone alert for long. The flicker of flame created slow-moving shadows that gently pulled the mind inward. Conversations became softer and shorter, then stopped altogether. People did not look for entertainment or distraction. They simply prepared their bodies for sleep, knowing that daylight would return when it was ready. Lying down meant surrendering to the night rather than trying to control it. The body rested where it could, often on straw, simple bedding, or the bare floor, wrapped in rough blankets that smelled of smoke and earth. Sleep itself did not arrive all at once. It came slowly, in layers. Awareness drifted in and out. Sometimes eyes closed fully. Sometimes they opened briefly to check the fire or listen to the quiet sounds outside. This waking was not stressful. It was expected. The night was long, and there was no pressure to stay asleep without interruption. Rest was spread across many quiet moments rather than one deep, uninterrupted stretch. The body accepted this rhythm naturally, moving between light sleep, deeper rest, and calm awareness without concern. As you imagine lying there in the medieval night, notice how different the feeling is. There is no urgency to fall asleep quickly, no worry about how many hours remain. The night feels wide and patient. Even fear, when it appears, feels distant and manageable, softened by familiarity with the dark. The sounds of animals, wind, or distant movement become part of the background, not threats but reminders that life continues quietly, even while people rest. This was how night shaped medieval life. It demanded stillness, not productivity. It encouraged rest, not stimulation. Over time, bodies learned to trust this rhythm deeply. The darkness became a companion rather than an enemy, and sleep became something that happened naturally without effort or expectation. As the night grows heavier now, allow this medieval darkness to settle gently around you as well. Let your body remain still. Let your breathing slow. There is nothing to do, nowhere to go, and no reason to hurry. Rest can arrive in its own time, just as it did centuries ago. By this point in your long-imagined stay in medieval times, something subtle would begin to change inside you. The world around you would still be rough, slow, and imperfect, but your body would start to recognize its rhythm. The nights would no longer feel entirely strange. Darkness would arrive without warning, just as it always did. And instead of resisting it, you would begin to move with it. Fires would be lowered, voices would soften, and the world would gently fold itself inward. You would notice how people did not fight the night. They accepted it. This acceptance would slowly teach your own body to let go. Sleep in medieval times was not something people tried to control. There were no clocks to check. No fixed hours to chase. When work ended and light faded, rest followed naturally. You would lie down on rough bedding, perhaps straw or cloth, feeling the firmness beneath you. At first, this firmness felt uncomfortable, but over time it became grounding. Your body learned where to release tension. Muscles stopped holding themselves up. Breathing slowed without effort. The mind, no longer pulled by endless choices or noise, began to quiet on its own. The night itself would start to feel alive in a gentle way. You might hear distant animals, the wind moving through wooden walls, or the quiet breathing of others nearby. These sounds would no longer feel threatening. They would feel familiar, almost comforting. Silence was never complete, and it did not need to be. The mind learned which sounds mattered and which did not. Because nothing sudden was expected, alertness slowly faded. Sleep came in soft waves rather than deep drops, drifting in and out without worry. Waking during the night would feel natural. You might open your eyes briefly, notice the darkness, adjust your position, and then drift back into rest. There would be no panic about being awake, no pressure to fall asleep again quickly. The night was long and sleep had plenty of time to return. This patience changed everything. Without pressure, the body rested more deeply, even when awareness lingered. As days passed, you would notice how the people around you treated rest as something shared rather than private. Families slept near each other. Communities slowed together. Nighttime belonged to everyone. This shared rhythm created a quiet sense of safety. Even in a hard world, the night offered a pause where effort stopped and expectations disappeared. Your body, shaped by modern urgency, would slowly relearn this older truth. As you imagine this now, let that calm settle into you. Imagine lying still, not needing to achieve sleep, not needing to measure it. Just resting because the night is here. Let your breathing remain slow and gentle. Let the firmness beneath you support your weight. Let the sounds around you fade into the background. As the medieval night stretches on, familiar and patient, allow this part of the story to soften and drift away. You do not need to hold on to it. Just remain still and let rest continue quietly, the way it always did, long before modern time existed. By this point in the day, if you were truly living in medieval times, your body would feel a deep, unfamiliar kind of tiredness settling in. This was not the tiredness that comes from screens, noise, or constant thinking. It was a physical heaviness, earned through movement, labor, and long hours spent on your feet. As evening approached, the light would begin to fade naturally, without switches or bright lamps. Shadows would stretch slowly across wooden floors and dirt paths, and the world itself would seem to soften. There would be no rush to fill the evening with activity. The night was not something to fight. It was something everyone accepted. Inside homes, life would grow quieter without being silent. Simple meals would be finished early, often eaten in the same place people worked and slept. There was no separation between rooms, no private spaces to retreat into. Families shared the same air, the same warmth, the same tired stillness. Conversations slowed, words became fewer, not because people were unhappy, but because energy was precious. Every movement, every sentence cost something, and by nightfall, most people chose to save what little they had left. As darkness deepened, your senses would begin to change. Without artificial light, your eyes would stop trying to see clearly. Sounds would become more important than sights. The crackle of a fire, the shift of someone settling onto straw, the distant sounds of animals or wind outside would form a quiet background. These sounds were not disturbing. They were familiar. They told you that life continued around you, even as you prepared to rest. Fear did not come from the dark itself, but from the unknown, and most nights were known well enough to feel safe. Sleep in medieval times did not arrive suddenly. There was no moment where everyone decided it was time. People lay down gradually, adjusting their bodies on hard surfaces, pulling simple coverings closer for warmth. The ground, benches, or shared beds were firm, offering no softness. Yet the body adapted quickly because it had no choice. Comfort was not expected. Rest was enough. Breathing slowed. Muscles released their hold on the day. The body sank into stillness because it was finally allowed to. Waking during the night was common and accepted. People might open their eyes briefly, notice the low fire or the shape of the room, and then close them again. There was no anxiety about being awake, no counting of hours, no worry about morning. The night was long and sleep came in waves. This broken sleep felt normal, even healthy, because the body trusted it would rest again soon. Dreams drifted in and out quietly, often forgotten by morning. As you imagine yourself lying there, surrounded by the quiet presence of others, notice how different this rest feels. There is no pressure to perform sleep correctly, no goal to reach. Just the simple act of lying still in the dark. The body understands this rhythm instinctively. It has lived it before long ago. The modern world has changed many things, but this ancient understanding remains hidden inside you. As the medieval night continues, time loses its sharp edges. Hours are not measured. They are felt. The body drifts, wakes, and drifts again, guided only by darkness and fatigue. Morning will come when it comes. Until then, there is nothing to do and nowhere to be. Rest is not earned. It is simply allowed. As this part gently settles, allow the images to fade. You do not need to hold on to them. Let your breathing stay slow. Let your body remain heavy and supported. The night, whether ancient or modern, is doing the same work it has always done. As the medieval day slowly comes to an end, the world around you begins to change in a quiet and noticeable way. There are no bright lights turning on, no screens glowing, no sudden shift between day and night. Instead, darkness arrives gently, almost politely. The sky softens into deeper shades and the sounds of work begin to fade. Tools are put away. Voices grow fewer. Animals settle. You feel the rhythm of the day slowing down, and your body follows without resistance. Night does not feel separate from life here. It feels like a natural continuation of it. Imagine standing in a small medieval village as evening approaches. Smoke rises slowly from hearths as simple meals are prepared. The smell of bread, stew, or boiled grains drifts through the air. People eat early, not because of routine, but because daylight is precious and darkness brings stillness. There is no rush to stay awake late. Energy is saved. Conversation is soft and practical. Laughter, when it appears, is brief and gentle. Life does not stretch itself beyond its limits. As darkness deepens, the village becomes quieter. Doors are closed. Fires are reduced to glowing embers. There is no need for long nighttime activity. Night is for rest, reflection, and stillness. You notice how quickly the world becomes calm. Without artificial light, the darkness feels full and complete. It wraps around the village not in a frightening way, but in a steady and familiar one. The stars above feel closer than you are used to, wide and unchanging. Sleep in medieval times begins early, but it is not rushed. People lie down when their bodies feel ready. Beds, if they exist at all, are simple. Straw mattresses, wooden frames, or shared sleeping spaces are common. Comfort is basic, but the body adapts. There is no expectation of perfect sleep. Waking during the night is normal. Some people stir, adjust, or even sit quietly for a while before resting again. The night is long, and sleep moves gently through it in waves. As you imagine lying down in this medieval night, notice how different it feels from modern rest. There is no pressure to fall asleep quickly. There is no worry about time. The body relaxes because it knows the night is wide and forgiving. Thoughts slow naturally. The mind does not fight rest. It simply drifts, guided by darkness, quiet, and the steady breathing of others nearby. Dreams, when they come, feel softer and slower. They blend easily into the night, and waking from them does not feel jarring. If you open your eyes, you see darkness, perhaps a faint glow from dying embers, and familiar shapes around you. There is nothing demanding your attention. You close your eyes again, and rest returns on its own. This is one of the most striking differences you would notice if you woke up in medieval times. Life does not push against rest. It moves with it. The day works, and the night heals. The body is not overstimulated or overwhelmed. It is allowed to be tired, allowed to rest, and allowed to recover naturally. As the night grows deeper now, let this medieval calm settle into you. Imagine yourself lying still, wrapped in darkness that feels steady and safe. Let your breathing slow. Let your muscles soften. There is nothing more to do. The world has gone quiet, and rest has taken over. In the next part, we will gently move toward the final reflections of this journey, looking at what waking up in medieval times truly teaches us about life, rhythm, and rest. For now, remain still. Let the night continue. Let sleep deepen naturally. As the medieval day slowly fades into night, you begin to notice something important. After all the confusion, discomfort, noise, and effort of surviving this unfamiliar world, night brings a strange kind of stillness. There are no bright lights cutting through the darkness. No endless sounds competing for attention. No expectations placed on you once the work is done. The sky darkens naturally, and with it, the pace of life softens. People move less, voices lower, fires burn gently instead of brightly. The world begins to rest, not because it is told to, but because it always has. Imagine yourself lying down in a simple space. The surface beneath you is firm, not soft. It may be straw, wood, or packed earth. There is no perfect comfort here, but there is familiarity. Your body adjusts slowly, finding a position that feels acceptable rather than ideal. And strangely, that is enough. After a long day of physical movement, your muscles welcome stillness. The tiredness is honest and deep. It does not come from stress alone, but from real effort. Your breathing slows on its own. There is nothing you need to plan for the night. Tomorrow will arrive when it arrives. Around you, the medieval world grows quiet, not silent but steady. You hear distant sounds that repeat every night. The low crackle of fire, the soft movement of people settling down, the occasional sound of animals resting nearby. These sounds do not demand attention. They blend into the background, creating a rhythm the body understands. This is not entertainment. This is not distraction. This is simply the sound of life pausing until morning. Your mind, which struggled all day to understand this unfamiliar world, begins to loosen its grip. There is nothing left to figure out right now. No rules to learn, no customs to follow, no danger to avoid in this moment. The night does not test you, it holds you. Thoughts slow, not because you force them to stop, but because there is nothing feeding them anymore. Darkness simplifies everything. Shapes fade, details disappear. The mind follows the same path, letting go of unnecessary effort. In medieval times, night was not something people fought against. It was not filled with activity or stimulation. It was respected, accepted. The body knew it was time to stop. This natural rhythm allowed rest to arrive without struggle. Even if sleep came and went in waves, rest continued underneath it all. Being still was enough. Closing your eyes was enough. The body repaired itself quietly, without needing perfect conditions. As you lie here, imagine allowing yourself to rest the same way, not trying to sleep perfectly, not worrying about how deep or how long, just letting the night do what it has always done. Your body is heavy, supported, safe in this moment. The medieval world may be harsh during the day, but at night it softens. It releases its grip. And for a while, you are simply another human resting beneath the same dark sky that has covered people for thousands of years. This is the quiet truth of waking up in medieval times. Life would be difficult, uncomfortable, and demanding. But when night arrived, there was a kind of honesty to rest. No pressure, no performance, just stillness, just darkness, just the body returning to itself. As this long journey through the medieval world begins to settle, allow these images to fade gently. You do not need to remember them. Let the night remain. Let your breathing stay slow. Let rest continue in its own calm way, just as it has always done. As this long and quiet journey through medieval life slowly comes to an end, imagine yourself standing still for a moment in that distant world. The sounds are soft now. The streets are calm. The work of the day has ended, and the night has fully settled over the land. Smoke rises gently from chimneys. Animals are quiet. People have returned to their simple homes, lying down on rough beds or straw, allowing their tired bodies to rest after another demanding day. There is no rush anywhere. Time feels wide and slow, stretching gently into the darkness. If you truly had woken up in medieval times, you would have learned very quickly how different life felt in the body and the mind. You would have felt hunger more clearly, cold more deeply, and tiredness more honestly. You would have noticed how much of life revolved around survival, routine, and acceptance. There were fewer choices, fewer distractions, and fewer comforts, but also fewer expectations. People lived close to the earth, close to their work, and close to the rhythm of daylight and darkness. Life did not move fast, but it was heavy in its own quiet way. As night settled in medieval times, rest was simple and natural. There were no bright lights to fight the darkness, no endless noise to keep the mind awake. The body learned to follow the sky. When it grew dark, people slowed down. When they lay down, they rested. Sleep came in waves, sometimes deep, sometimes light, but always accepted. Waking in the night was normal. Silence was familiar. The night was not something to escape, but something to move through gently. Imagine now how it feels to slowly step away from that world. The stone streets fade. The candle light softens. The smells of smoke, earth, and wood drift away. The sounds of medieval life grow quieter and quieter until they are no longer around you. You are no longer standing in that distant past. You are simply resting, safe and still, carried by the calm of the present moment. Your body does not need to work anymore. Your mind does not need to imagine anymore. The story has done its job. It has gently guided you far away from today, and now it is guiding you back, slowly and softly, into rest. There is nothing left to understand, nothing left to remember. History can stay where it belongs, quiet and distant. As you lie here now, notice how calm everything feels. Your breathing is slow, your muscles are heavy. The night around you feels steady and safe. Just like people in medieval times, you are allowing darkness to do its quiet work. Sleep does not need effort. It arrives when the body is ready, and your body is ready now. If your thoughts drift, let them drift. If sleep comes, let it come. There is nowhere else to go. The journey is complete. The past has faded. Only rest remains. Good night. Sleep deeply, and let the quiet carry you the rest of the way.